All right, hey, this is Dr. Graves with part 3 of the County Business Patterns download lab. God, I hope this one's working. I just spent a half an hour making this video and to find that the microphone wasn't working. So uh, cross your fingers. Anyway, maybe it'll be a little better. So what you have done in the previous step was, if I go over here to sheet 2, this is the pivot table that you created. Nice. And you pressed copy and you pasted it in a new sheet. This one actually should say sheet 3 here rather than sheet 2. Of course, I've had to set everything back up again. So this is sheet 3, and it's just the data. And when you pasted it in, if you recall, that should have been as paste as values, so you don't get essentially another pivot table. All right, and now what we want to do is to clean it up a little bit. I'm opening this column with. One way you can do it is just double click on the, if you double click on the little line between the columns, it will, what would you say, not maximize, but will maximize or minimize or optimize the length. We want to call this column, how about, let's call this counties. And this column here and the one next to it, these two, these are represent all businesses per county in 2012 and 2017. So let's rename them all 12 and all 17. And we're going to calculate the difference, the increase in this count, in this column. So we'll call this, how about something like increase, or let's call it difference all. And then this is just single family home builders. So single family home builders 12 and single family home builders 17. Difference single family home builders. And then in this column here, in column H, what this is going to be is the percentage difference. So we could put percent diff single family home builders. All right, so that's all cool. We don't need this top row anymore. So I'm going to click on the 1 here, and I can click on delete, or if you are a Jedi, then you would use keystrokes instead, and that's Alt. The Jedi way to do that is Alt ED for Alt Edit Delete, and that's not simultaneous pressing of those keys, but sequential, Alt ED. Okay, so we have one last thing to do to this column to get it ready. And what I want you to do is to click on cell E, or the column E, or you could just place your, and again, if you're using only keystrokes, then place your cursor somewhere here. And then the Jedi way is Alt-I-E, and that would say shift columns right, and we could say entire column, so then that would be C. There you go, a new column. Go back. The other way to do that is just to click on E and click on insert. Both ways are fine, however you want to do it, but I always encourage you to keep your hands off the mouse to speed what you do. We will call this percent diff all, because we're going to calculate the difference in percentage difference or percentage increase. or decrease from 2012 to 2017. All right, so this column here, I could make that in green, and then we have another one in green as well. It's got junk data in it right now, so these are this is data that is the sum of these two columns, not the difference. So we don't want that. If you could, you can delete it if you want, or you don't have to. We're just going to create calculations over top of it. So the first thing that we're going to do here is just a simple subtraction formula equals C2, which is the number of businesses in 2017 in Alameda County, subtract the number of businesses in that county in 2012. Yep, don't want that, and just press enter. So there was an increase of 3,395 jobs, and we want to copy that down to the rest of the column. And you could use your mouse to double click here, or the way I do it is to arrow one to the left, control down arrow, arrow one to the right, control shift up, boom, hit enter. That seems like more steps, but once your fingers get used to it, it turns out that it's not. So the next thing we're going to do is copy this entire column. Should still be highlighted. If it's not, highlight that column and press Control C. Move your cursor over to column H and press Enter or Control V. That way you will essentially copy that formula over, and it should be perfect. I press F2, the F2 key, and that highlights what's going on in the formula, and that's all correct. There were 28 businesses in 2012 and 36 single-family home builders in 17. That's an increase of 8. And this county here, Fresno, they actually had a decrease in single-family home builders of 5. And you can do that math in your head to double check what's going on. So I think we have just about what I want at this point, but I want to show you another little trick because I'm feeling a little uncomfortable with these blank cells. So I'm going to press Control A, which, as you should know by now, highlights the entire cell or the entire block of data as long as everything's adjacent. And the fact that these are all adjacent keeps everything connected. Control A and then Control H. And what I want you to put in this find and replace is just leave the find blank, because it's going to look for blank cell references and replace those with a 0. I want to click that, and it says that it made 84 replacements. That's okay, and you can close. But what that did for us is that in, say, Colusa County here that had no single-family home builders in 2012 and 2017, it just put a 0 in there, which is a little more comforting to the eye, at least for me. The calculation didn't change because the blanks are function as zeros, but it's a little unnerving sometimes. So that's just a little trick, the old find and replace technique, which is Control H in Jedi format. So at this point, what I'm going to have you do is to sort the data, S-O-R-T, sort the data. And there are at least 3 ways of doing this. One is Excel frequently has these shortcut keys here, and you can add or detract those from your list of shortcut keys. And so I could sort by column D by placing my cursor in cell D1, and I could click then on sort A to Z here, or Z to A, or A to Z, this way, right? Or I could come over here to this button, sort A to Z, sort Z to A, or if you are Jedi, is Alt D S. And that brings up the custom sort. And it already remembers what was last sorted by, but then you can select which things you would like to sort by, maybe all in 12. All right, so now that you know how to sort things, your task is to sort it A to Z and Z to A, and then there's some questions. So you're going to have to find, for example, which county had the greatest number of jobs perhaps in 2017, which one gained the most, which one may have lost the most, that kind of thing on from these columns of data, and then also from these columns of data I may have you sort by column H, and you would then find out which county increased or decreased its number of companies that build single-family homes. All right, so pause and answer, I don't know, so like 5 questions on that. I just want to make sure that you know how to sort and that you did the simple subtraction problem correctly. Now we're going to I'm going to go ahead and highlight these in pink, so just to help us see what's going on. We are going to calculate percent difference in these two categories. This is junk data. We'll just go over top of it in both of these. And that formula is x minus y divided by x, and then times negative 100, where x is the early year and y is the later year. Okay, so pretty easy to plug that in, equals x, the early year, minus y, which is the later year. And what we should have done was put some parentheses around this. So I messed up. Let's put the parentheses around there. So it's parentheses, inside the parentheses, B2 minus C2 divided by, and again we want to go with x, which again is B2. Right? And then multiply that by negative 100. Don't forget the negative. Enter. Okay, cool. And if I hit the F2 key, it gives me a graphic display of the formula. Once again, I will copy this all the way down. And now I have the percent change in total businesses from 2012 to 2017. You'll note that some of them are negative. And then I can copy this over because the cells are all in the values are all in the same relative position to each other. I can just copy that over, and now I have the relative or the percentage change, percent difference in single-family home builders during this time. And I can sort this Z to A, and we get a lot of these can't divide by 0 because, well, they had a 0 home builders at least in 2012 and sometimes in both. You see there's one county with a huge increase, and some counties had a 100% decrease because they had some value in 2012 and zeros in 2017. So in some ways those are hard, that percentage is less useful than those ones in the middle. At this point, I'm going to stop the video and you will answer the remaining questions. That's the end of the county business pattern tutorial videos.